Once upon a time, there lived a giant who fought with a greedy wizard over sharing a treasure. The giant threatened the wizard.
"Get out of my sight! I could crush you with my thumb if I wanted to."
The wizard hurried away, but from a safe distance he yelled back his own threat.
"Abracadabra! I cast this spell. The son your wife will soon give you will never grow any taller than my own thumb."
After Tom Thumb was born, his parents were at their wits' end. They could never find him because they couldn't see him. They had to speak in whispers for fear of deafening him. Tom Thumb was so small that he only wanted to play with little garden creatures. He rode piggyback on snails and danced with ladybugs. Tiny as he was, he still had fun in his world of little things. One unlucky day, Tom went to visit a friendly frog. No sooner had he scrambled onto a leaf than a large fish swallowed him. But the fish also had an unlucky day. After swallowing Tom Thumb, the fish took the bait cast by one of the king's fishermen. Before long, the fish ended up in the king's kitchen, and out of his stomach stepped Tom Thumb, quite alive, and none the worse for his adventure.
"What should we do with this tiny child?" said the cook.
Then he had a brilliant thought. He would make Tom a royal page boy.
"He's so tiny I could pop him into the cake I'm baking."
When Tom burst out of the cake, everyone gasped in wonder. Never had such a tiny person been seen at the king's court. The king rewarded the cook with a bag of gold and made Tom Thumb a royal page boy. Tom was very happy with his royal job. Tom had a white mouse for a mount, a gold pin for a sword, and he was allowed to eat at the king's table. He marched up and down the table at banquets, picking his way among plates and glasses and amusing the guests with his trumpet. What Tom Thumb didn't know was that he had an enemy. The cat had been the king's pet until Tom arrived, but he was now forgotten. Looking for revenge, the cat ambushed Tom in the garden. When Tom saw the cat, he didn't run away. Instead, he whipped out his gold pin and cried to his white mouse mount, "Charge! Charge!" Jabbed by the tiny sword, the cat turned tail and ran away. Now the cat decided to be clever and deceive the king about Tom with a lie.
"Sire, be on your guard. A plot is being planned against your life. Tom Thumb is planning to poison your food with hemlock. I saw him picking the leaves in the garden, and I heard him talking about poisoning you."
The king, who had once spent the day in bed with bad tummy pains after eating too many cherries, was very much afraid of being poisoned. So he sent for Tom Thumb to ask him if this was true. The cat, who had hidden it there himself, pulled a hemlock leaf out from under the white mouse's saddle pad.
"See, sire, here is the proof that Tom Thumb plans to poison you," exclaimed the cat.
Tom was so surprised he did not know what to say. The king took Tom Thumb's silence for a confession and had Tom thrown into prison. Since Tom was so tiny, they locked him up in a clock. The days and hours passed. Tom's only pastime was swinging back and forth on the pendulum inside the clock. Then one night he attracted the attention of a big night moth, who was fluttering around the room. "Let me out!" cried Tom Thumb, tapping on the glass. "Let me out!" As it so happened, the moth had just been set free after being a prisoner in a large box, so she took pity on Tom Thumb and released him from the clock.
"I'll take you to the butterfly kingdom, where everyone's tiny like yourself. They'll take good care of you there," said the moth.
And that is what happened. To this day, if you visit the butterfly kingdom, you can see the butterfly monument built to honor Tom Thumb. The end.